Welcome, everyone. We're really excited to have you on the line today. If you're here to learn about pro marketing on Reddit, you're in the right Zoom, and we're really excited to get started. So we'll do more formal introductions in a little bit here, but to start things off, I'm Lizzie. This is David. Let's go ahead and dive in. So for those of us in the home improvement space, we already know that a huge opportunity lies in reaching the pro, and we've watched Home Depot and Lowe's invest heavily in reaching these folks over the last year or so. According to Home Depot's CEO, the pro is their biggest growth opportunity, and they're reshaping their entire organization to better serve these folks. Add in the recent federal rate cuts, and you have an environment where home sales and renovations are on the rise. And after a long stretch of pent-up demand, pros will be highly sought after. This quote from NPR nicely sums it up. The fact that lower mortgage rates are expected to spur more home buyers to buy will also serve as an incentive for builders to get building. So, you already know that reaching pros is a huge priority for home improvement marketers, and that's probably why you're on this webinar. And you've probably relied on a standard toolkit for reaching pros in the past, like offering and promoting loyalty programs, pricing perks, and continued education and events. When it comes to digital marketing, though, the toolkit is a little bit more limited. Historically, we've leaned heavily on YouTube and LinkedIn, but we've seen both of those become more and more expensive over time. This all came to a head when our client Technor Apex was trying to reach pro audiences with a garden hose campaign, and LinkedIn costs kept skyrocketing. So we started looking for a better option, which is exactly where Reddit comes in. According to the platform, since Q4 of 2022, their daily active user count has grown by 27%, and about half of Reddit's unique visitors are US-based. For reference, earlier this year, Reddit had 572 million unique US-based visitors. The majority of that US audience is millennials, with a pretty even split across male and female users. Something that we found really interesting was that many Reddit users can't be found on other social platforms. The chart to the right shows the percentage of Reddit users that don't use other platforms. So, for instance, 30% of Redditors don't use Facebook, 45% of Redditors don't use Instagram, and 41% of Redditors don't use TikTok. So, you can reach folks on Reddit that you can't reach anywhere else. But beyond demographics, it's how folks are using Reddit that's really exciting for brands. Reddit is highly trusted, especially compared to other social platforms, and users come to Reddit looking for recommendations all the time. A whopping 75% of shoppers say they can have genuine discussions about products and brands to try on Reddit, and this impacts how they're interacting with advertising on Reddit too. On that front, users who viewed an ad on Reddit are 27% more likely to purchase a product than if they had viewed an ad on another platform. So Reddit is growing, and users trust Reddit as a source of information about products and brands. And all of that's great, but what about pros? Why is Reddit the future of pro marketing? We'll dig into that in a moment, but first we want to take a second to tell you a little bit more about ourselves. So hi, I'm Lizzie Kuzmic, Director of Digital Marketing here at Simon Myers. We support digital marketing for a variety of clients in the home improvement space, like LG, Delta Faucet Company, and TimberTech. We handle everything from paid and organic strategy creation to digital creative development, as well as actually launching, monitoring, and reporting on digital campaigns. I'll pass it over to David.
Thanks, Lizzie. Hi, everyone. I'm David Glenn. I'm the Senior Digital Media Strategist on the team. My focus is primarily on all things paid media, which involves conducting research, media planning, handling analytics, reporting, and basically managing all of our paid campaigns on a variety of different platforms.
So now that you know who the people talking at you are, we want to give you a quick peek into where we're going from here. So we're going to start off by taking you through the 5 reasons Reddit is the future of pro marketing. And after that, we're going to talk about 4 ways you can get started reaching pros on Reddit right away. We'll save a few minutes at the end for questions, but don't hesitate to jump in the chat if you have questions along the way. And with that, I will kick us off with reason number 1. So starting off strong. The number 1 reason Reddit is the future of pro marketing is a pretty obvious one. Pros are Redditors. Reddit is organized by specific communities or subreddits, and there are a ton of pro-focused subreddits. According to Reddit, there are over 50 million home improvement pros on the platform worldwide, housed across over 30 subreddits like r/construction, r/HVAC, r/electricians, and r/skilled trades. If you want to join, many of these subreddits actually require verification that you are, in fact, a pro. So that's pretty straightforward. We've got a lot of pros on Reddit and they're relatively easy to find, which isn't something we can say about most other social platforms. And that leads us really nicely into reason number two, or Reddit's options for targeting pros.
Yeah, so Reddit was late to the game in terms of running advertising versus other social platforms. However, they already have the capability to reach users at a very granular and personal level through unique and effective targeting capabilities that other platforms simply can't match. I will say other platforms may have a leg up on targeting users demographically. However, Redditors are arguably much more engaged and connected to the communities they're a part of on the platform, which allows Reddit to target on a much deeper level, reaching them based on who they are and what they care about. Just like most other platforms, you can target using customer lists, engagement, and pixel retargeting, and also by location, gender, and device. All pretty standard stuff. However, the two unique ways that I think are the most valuable in reaching the pro audience in home improvement is through keyword and communities targeting. So first with keyword targeting. You can create a list of keywords or phrases related to your brand that Reddit users are actively searching for, commenting on, or engaging with in relevant subreddits or posts. For example, if you're a paint manufacturer wanting to reach pros in the industry, you could target phrases like paint for contractors, paint for commercial or professional paint equipment, keywords and phrases that only your audience would be interested in. Then getting a little broader, there's communities targeting, which is rooted in targeting specific subreddits, of which there are over 138,000 active ones. So you're more than likely to find some that are relevant to your brand. This type of targeting accounts for which subreddits users are members of or have interacted with. And then at the broadest level of targeting, for those trying to reach larger audiences, there's interest groups, which targets based on topics users recently engaged with. And another way to think of it is targeting subreddits and keywords in bulk. So in terms of platform performance, in my personal experience, and according to benchmarks in the chart to the right, Reddit is on par with Meta. While CPCs and CPMs are significantly cheaper than LinkedIn, although click-through rate on Reddit is lower, CPCs are lower, and you're reaching users more efficiently with a lower CPM. And so here's a glimpse of our personal experience. For our client Technor Apex, which manufactures garden hoses, our Reddit campaign outperformed the same campaign on Meta. It generated a 30% more efficient CPC and a 675% higher video completion rate, which is a very sizable difference and really speaks to how this home improvement audience we were able to reach on Reddit was much more engaged than who we reached on Meta.
So to recap so far, we have lots of pros on Reddit. We have lots of options to target them, and we know we can reach them at an efficient cost. But what does Reddit ad creative look like? How are other home improvement brands marketing to pros in this space? Long story short, from what we can tell, they largely aren't. While Reddit has room to improve when it comes to ads transparency, by exploring pro subreddits, you can actually see many of the ads targeting them. We saw Navy ads, deodorant ads, Spectrum business ads, but the only recent home improvement product we saw advertised on key pro subreddits was Bentley engineering software. As Reddit releases new ad products and increases visibility in Google, and David's going to talk a little bit more about that in a second, there's no way it's going to stay that way. But for the moment, Reddit is kind of an open playing field.
But yeah, things can definitely change. So Google is investing in Reddit. They've realized that it's where people go for genuine, real world answers and discussions grounded in personal experience. Earlier this year, Google struck a $60 million deal with Reddit to utilize their vast pool of user generated data to help train its AI models. In addition to getting a large sum of money, Reddit is getting something else in return from Google, which is search visibility. Although Google denies a direct connection, Reddit posts have noticeably gained prominence in search results, driving a sizable increase in traffic year over year. And a large portion of the traffic is coming directly from Google. and that's highlights just how valuable Reddit is becoming. And also, just a side note, Reddit has plans to tap into paid search on their own platform, which will be another way to reach users. But for those who are familiar with Reddit's search function or lack thereof, you know that it's not great and how much better it really should be. And Reddit is fully aware of this, and they know they need to fix it before testing any paid search ads. So Google accounts for nearly 90% of all search traffic. And as a result of giving priority to Reddit in search rankings, unfortunately, publishers are hurting. Partly due to account for this loss of traffic, paywalls have been steadily increasing. However, publishers have started to come to terms with this shift in media consumption and are taking on the mindset of if you can't beat them, join them. While Reddit hasn't formally launched a publisher program, in recent months, news outlets and publishers such as Yahoo, Puck, the New York Times, Opinion have launched new Reddit accounts. And others like Rolling Stone, The Independent, Associated Press, and Newsweek have reactivated existing accounts or have dedicated more resources to those accounts.
So that's our 5 reasons Reddit is the future of pro marketing. Hopefully, at this point, we've convinced you that Reddit is a no-brainer for your pro marketing efforts, or at the very least, convinced you to consider it for your next pro campaign. Next, we want to take you through 4 ways to get started reaching pros on Reddit, where we'll share some of the things that we've learned from our Reddit activation so far. So first up, identify your audience. Since we all work in marketing, this feels kind of like a no-brainer, but in the context of Reddit, we want to think about the specific subreddits we want to target. When we built our campaign strategy for Technor Apex, we were targeting landscape pros. So we looked into r/lawn care pros and r/landscaping subreddits. You'll find that some communities span both DIYers and pros, and this was the case with r/landscaping. But after digging deeper into the conversations there, we decided that there were enough pro comments and posts to include that community in our targeting. Maybe your target audience expands beyond 1 or 2 specific types of pros. For a more general targeting approach, you could think about it from the perspective of pro interests or accessories. Could r/tools make sense, or r/workwear? Or on the flip side of that, if your audience is super niche, are there keywords that only your audience would be searching for? For instance, for Technor, we could have targeted keywords and phrases like contract grade hose or best hose for landscapers. And then once you've identified your target subreddits, do a deep dive into the conversations within those communities. What are pros talking about? The goal is to have your content fit seamlessly into the Reddit environment because Redditors are notoriously hostile to ads that don't respect the norms of the platform. We'll get a little bit more into that in a second here. Beyond that, we always want to make sure our creative is providing some kind of value, right? So as a very basic starting point, we want to share some of the general conversation themes that we've seen across a variety of pro subreddits. Think of these as general guideposts for your Reddit content strategy, but it'll be even more important to see what the pros on your target subreddit are talking about. So first up, one of the main conversation themes that we see on pro subreddits is business advice. We see a lot of folks asking these subreddits how to get into the trades or what trade to specialize in. We also see a lot of folks asking others for more specific advice, like, do I need insurance? What type of insurance do you use? Or this one, which we really appreciate the honesty of. Feeling like a dumb apprentice, how to get better. So, as a rough thought starter, could your brand help answer questions like these? Next up, we see a lot of pros asking for project advice or showing off their work. Pros are literally hopping on Reddit in the middle of a project and asking their peers for help. An obvious takeaway here is that brands should highlight their customer service options or resources, and they can also creatively tap into the culture of showing off a finished product. Then beyond asking for business and project advice, pros are also looking for peer-to-peer advice for all kinds of things. Everything from what gift should I give to my team to what kind of healthy lunches should I bring on the job is fair game. And if you open up the comments on these threads, you'll begin to understand just how engaged these communities are. Think about advertising your product as the perfect crew gift or providing lifestyle content that hits on your product. For example, if I'm advertising a Carhartt or Yeti lunchbox, maybe I frame that up in an ad about easy job site lunches. And then last but not least, it wouldn't be Reddit without a healthy dose of humor, and pro subreddits are no exception. Memes and rants on these subreddits provide some helpful insight into pro culture and also demonstrate another way that pros are seeking and building community on that platform. We'll dig into this a little more in a second. Hopefully, though, this helps kickstart your understanding of what pros are looking for on Reddit. But like I mentioned before, start by digging into the subs you want to target and start to brainstorm how you can incorporate your brand into conversations that pros are already having. All right, so once you've identified your ad topics or messaging strategy, you want to build what we're calling no BS creative. I hit on this a second ago, but if any of you actually use Reddit, you know that it can be really tricky for brands. Redditors are ready and willing to criticize brands, especially ones that treat Reddit like any other ad platform. While you can use creative from other platforms as a starting point, you'll probably need to customize it for Reddit. And there are a couple of ways to signal that you get Reddit in your creative. You can lean into Reddit culture, or you can lead with some humor and self-awareness, or both. So this Orkin ad on the right is a great example of leaning into Redditisms. I'll go ahead and read this copy. Some things shouldn't be r/DIY projects. When it comes to wildlife, leave that to the pros. Orkin Canada has 120 years of expertise in dealing with whatever has nested, burrowed, or invaded your home. TLDR, we can solve your problems, the wildlife related ones anyway. Get a free estimate today. And then the overlay text has its own Redditism. Be afraid of reading r/horror before bed, not wildlife. Okay, so if I'm being totally honest, this ad might be going a little overboard with the Redditisms and feels a little bit like when I try to use Gen Z slang with my 14-year-old niece. We want to show that we get Reddit, but not look like we're trying too hard. So I'd top it out at 1 or 2 Redditisms max. And then while we're on this topic of creative, we also know that pros have their own hot buttons when it comes to ads. Never show a pro who's overly well groomed or cleanly dressed. And don't just throw the word pro on top of a piece of consumer creative either. Your message and image should feel tailor-made for pros because they'll definitely notice.
So now that we know about the creative guidelines for Reddit, we can cover how your messaging will actually come to life on Reddit. The platform is continuously evolving its ad formats to offer brands more ways to engage with their users. Currently, they provide a variety of ad placements, including conversation ads that let brands facilitate relevant discussions, takeovers for high visibility campaigns, and standard promoted posts. They've also introduced freeform promoted posts, giving advertisers more flexibility with their content. Reddit is also testing a carousel ad format, which is currently in beta. So these evolving options highlight Reddit's growing potential for brands to connect with its users. All right, so I hope it doesn't feel like we've just been smacking you on the head with information for the past 20 minutes or so, but if we've already convinced you to test Reddit, here's some tactical advice. When testing any new platform, it's best to start small. We typically start with low daily budgets and run for at least a month to ensure we achieve significant results. After you've gained enough data around performance, review your targeting strategy. Are you reaching the right subreddits and targeting the right keywords? How are different ad formats performing? For those trying to reach the pro, are you making the right exclusions to weed out the DIY audience, which is a user base that can heavily overlap with the pro audience? So it's important to keep that top of mind. Then from there, you can evolve your strategy and invest more in tactics that is a right fit for your brand and that you know will perform well.
So that was pretty quick. We made it. We're going to break for questions in a moment, but before we do that, we want to take a second to recap everything that we just walked through, starting off with the 5 reasons Reddit is the future of pro marketing. So number 1, pros are Redditors. Enough said. Reddit touts that there are 50 million pros on the platform worldwide across more than 30 different subreddits.
And community-based targeting, number two. So what sets Reddit apart is that its foundation is built on communities, which allows brands to reach highly engaged and relevant audiences. And specifically for home improvement brands, the two best ways to reach this audience is through communities and keyword targeting. And then low cost, high performance. So from our own experience, advertising on Reddit is more cost efficient than other platforms like Meta and LinkedIn and can still deliver strong results.
And then fourth, it's a less crowded advertising landscape. So far, we haven't seen that many home improvement brands advertising on main pro subreddits. Right now, this is a much less crowded ad space than, say, Facebook or Instagram.
And then number five, the last one, increase in authority. So Google, the largest search engine in the world, has bought into Reddit, as well as publishers, tech companies, venture capital investment firms, and other stakeholders. They're recognizing the potential of the growth for the platform.
And then to also quickly recap those four ways to start reaching pros on Reddit. Number one, identify your audience. You want to identify those target subreddits or keywords that you're looking at and start to audit the content either by searching those keywords or digging deep into those subreddits. Second, you want to tap into those pro content themes that you're seeing. So you want to shape your creative around the conversations that you're seeing on those target subreddits or on Reddit more broadly to make sure that it fits in well within the context of the platform. Third is to build that no BS creative. Reddit can be really hostile for brands, so make sure that your creative is armed with humor, self-awareness, and Redditisms.
And then the last one, and number four, is to start small. Diversify in which tactics you use to reach your audience. Then, after gathering enough learnings, invest heavier into a strategy that you know will perform well.
And that's it. Thank you so much for taking a part of your lunch hour or, if you're Central Time, your 11 o'clock hour to hang out with us and dig into Reddit today. We'll hang on the line for another couple minutes if you guys have any questions. But if something comes to mind after the fact, we'd love to chat more with you over email. But for now, I will stop talking and open up the floor for any initial questions. Let's see, we have a question from Brian. Do you see any specific types of pros being on Reddit more than others? Plumbers, electricians, general contractors, or is it pretty general? That is a great question. It's a pretty even mix from what we've seen so far. There's a lot of variety. And it'd be interesting to actually see if we could get some data around the proportions of those different audiences on the platform. But yeah, our perspective so far is that it's a pretty broad and even mix. All right. Do you normally do sales or lead campaigns? How are these performing on Reddit? That is an awesome question. So we are actually just starting to test some lower funnel campaigns on the platform. The campaign that we spoke about with regard to Technor Apex, that was primarily an upper funnel campaign. So we are beginning to understand how those are performing, but we don't have data from our own experience so far. Is that accurate, David?
Yeah, but we definitely have plans to test some of those lead nurturing type of campaigns, see if we can actually, generate conversions from Reddit. So that is definitely on the horizon, and I know other brands have seen success doing that. So it's something we're about to test ourselves.
Some more to come on that front. Do the Redditors react to the ads? Do their comments stick around?
Yeah,
So
I can take this one.
cool.
So yeah, you have an option to enable or disable comments. I will say the default is disable. Um, because if you enable it, you would have to be sure to be, on top of answering any questions, um, and, kind of facilitating all those comments, which would be fairly time consuming. But one ad format that I touched on is kind of like a free form or uh, conversation ads. This is where this type of ad kind of serves as an actual post. So you could talk about a specific topic in great detail and kind of open the floor to Redditors to comment. It's almost like a mini AMA in a sense, where you kind of open the floor to a certain topic, list some key points about that, and then you're able to, facilitate a discussion to people that are actually commenting on that.
All righty. Well, thanks for the questions and thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. And as I mentioned, if any other questions come up, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to chat with you more over email.